Hi guys, welcome to this video. This is going to be a little update of a couple previous videos I made about issues surrounding COVID-19 and your pets. Now this video is being made on July 18th, 2020, so a couple months after my last one. So we're well past the initial, oh my god, what is going on stage of this pandemic, and we actually have some evidence now about both how the virus behaves and how people behave, and a little bit deeper understanding of the biology of this disease as well as its effects. So before I get going, please remember to squish that subscribe button and pet the bell notification icon so that you get all the updates on my videos. There's no cute cats in this video. I apologize for that unless Claudia decides to visit, but this is a very serious topic. COVID-19 in your pets. What do we know so far? As in my previous videos, I'm going to repeat this again right up front. It's really not a threat to your pets, and neither are your pets threats to you. There's no evidence of humans getting COVID-19 from pets, and there is very, very little concern about COVID-19 being transmitted to pets. So if you just want to stop watching the video right now, I fully understand it, and you can just go home and not worry about it. It really is not something that you should be losing your sleep over. But to go into a little more detail, so we know that COVID-19 isn't really a respiratory virus. It's a virus that affects the respiratory system, but also a number of other systems in the body. But it does seem to get into the body through cells that have an angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor, or ACE2 receptor, which is plentiful in human lungs. So that's how the virus enters the body. And looking at the animal side of things, we know that cats and ferrets are the 2 common domestic animals that have very similar ACE2 receptors to humans in their lungs. Dogs do not have a similar receptor at all. So that's kind of an important thing to know. So there are reports of cats that seem to have contracted COVID-19. Now, the important thing here is case numbers. As of today, I think there's like 500 million humans affected by COVID-19 in the world, and that's probably like estimate by 75% because so many people are asymptomatic and countries only list people who tested positive, which, let's face it, is definitely not everyone. So that means that there's been millions of people, hundreds of millions of people affected, hundreds of millions of animals affected and exposed by this virus. And the case numbers of like positive tests are like 6. I think there was one paper with 6 cats who actually reliably tested positive for COVID-19. And all of these cats, here's the important thing, had a human in the household who was very, very sick with it. So for all of those of you who've taken university statistics, you're probably understanding now that these numbers are not statistically significant. And for all intents and purposes, cats don't get COVID-19 from humans. It does happen, but statistically it does not. A minor distinction, but an important one. And all of the cats that did test positive for COVID-19 and actually had symptoms that may or may not have been explained by it, all of these cats were actually quite sick. They were very immunocompromised. They were diabetics, being treated for cancer. They're very sick animals. And again, there's like 1 cat in this country, 3 cats in that country. So they're really not statistically significant numbers. And again, even though these cats may have or most likely acquired the infection from their human, there have never been any evidence of a human acquiring infection from a cat, so we don't really have to worry about it. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, oh, well, I want to protect my cat in case I get sick. And of course, all the really lame Reuters news stories are like, well, if you have a cat and you have COVID-19 symptoms, you may consider isolating it. Nah, forget about that. That is absolutely idiotic. Probably the biggest harm you can do to animal welfare is to tell people to isolate themselves from their beloved pet. The one exception to this would be that if you do have COVID-19 and you have a cat who's like undergoing chemotherapy for cancer or a severe autoimmune disorder, and you have somebody who's going to take care of the cat just as well or better than you can, then sure, you may consider isolating yourself from your kitty while you're symptomatic. But to be honest with you, even if you have COVID-19 and you have an immunocompromised cat, chances are nobody else will take care of that cat as well as you. And the health risk to that cat from exposure to you is so incredibly minimal. And the health risk to that cat from not being around you is so incredibly high that I probably just would not worry about it. So if there's anything you take away from this video, if you've been watching this far, is don't worry about it. Keep your cat, love them, hug them, cuddle them. And, you know, if you have a cat undergoing chemotherapy and you're symptomatic and you have family members who can take care of it just as well as you can, well, you can consider passing your cat off to them for a week. But probably that's not a scenario that's ever going to happen realistically. So that's cats. Dogs, just don't worry about it. People have cultured positive COVID samples from dogs. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 worldwide. 100%, these are just contaminations. Like, it's just statistically improbable that these are anything other than people who are carrying COVID contaminating the samples or false positive samples. Happens all the time. It's just not an issue with dogs. And while I still try to avoid petting dogs on the street, I think the chance of dog fur acting as a vector for the disease is very low. Having said that, just out of respect to dog owners, try not to pet random dogs on the street. I know it's hard. So that leaves us with ferrets, and I don't know anything about ferrets in COVID-19. I do treat ferrets regularly in my practice, but nobody's really looked at the interaction between ferrets and COVID-19 in the household. It's just not a common enough animal for anybody to get excited about. Even though in a lab setting, they have used ferrets as a potential model for COVID-19 research. As far as I know, there haven't been any reports in the real world of ferrets showing symptoms or any kind of human to ferret transmission. So probably I'd give the same advice to ferret owners as I would to cat owners, which is not to worry about it. But if you're really, really sick, maybe try not to sneeze on your ferret. But again, we don't really know much at all about them. So and that's an important thing to acknowledge. We just don't know. But cats, dogs, my advice, don't worry about it. Love your pet. They're a huge source of comfort when you're ill. They're a huge source of comfort when you're stuck at home, socially isolated, and dealing with your own problems. So just love them, take comfort from them, and take comfort from the fact that you're not going to do them any harm by having them in your life, whether you have COVID or not. I hope that helps everyone have a little bit of peace of mind about this condition and their pets. And I probably won't be making any more of these update videos unless something really interesting and new develops. Because let's face it, there's a lot of very interesting topics of conversation in the world other than COVID-19. And we should probably explore them for everybody's mental welfare. So have a good day, and don't forget to squish your cat.